I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. Today's episode is something that is near and dear to me. It is quite possibly the most rewarding project I've ever been involved in my 20 years as a dietitian. And what we're talking about today is Alcohol Free for 40. It's a challenge that we do. This is our fifth year. 2020 is our fifth year doing it. So I want to share with y'all about the challenge, what it is, and some of the really cool results that we've seen, but also kind of how it got started and how it came to be, and kind of just give y'all some of the inside scoop, the background information about it, and share with y'all about this because it's a really cool thing. And this year, so we started it in New Orleans. I mentioned this is our fifth year doing it. And this year we are expanding our reach into multiple regions. It's part of what we do with our Eat Fit initiative through Ochsner Health. We are expanding it throughout the state. So we will have an Alcohol Free for 40 kickoff event, not only in New Orleans, but also Baton Rouge, Lafayette, North Shore, and Covington, and Shreveport. But it's something that we'll be doing statewide and supporting. But the cool thing about it is you can do it from anywhere. So for past years, we've had people participate in Alcohol Free for 40 from coast to coast, from California to New York, Spain, Switzerland, Italy, all over the place, take part of it. So it's not something that you have to be physically in the same space, even in the same state or country. It is a challenge that is a personal challenge that you can take and do wherever you are. And again, we tend to do it in Lent, right after Mardi Gras here in Louisiana, but this is something that you can take this concept and apply it any time of the year, wherever you are. So what is the Alcohol Free for 40 challenge? So basically, the idea is that through Lent, and again, in the New Orleans area, South Louisiana, whether someone's Catholic or not, a lot of times they're giving up something for Lent. And it's something that's just kind of part of the culture. Hey, what are you giving up for Lent? Again, religion aside. And again, this doesn't have to necessarily be Lent. It could be any time that you're kind of looking for a spring detox or something that might be kind of a summer cleanse, or after the summer, you're looking at something that kind of gets you back on track. So regardless of what time of the year you're listening and tuning into this podcast, this is something just to tuck away that we can do anytime. So the idea is, if you're going to give up alcohol for a period of time, make it your own self-experiment and take it several steps further. Instead of just giving it up and then kind of very subjectively seeing what the results are, make it your own self-experiment by doing a series of metrics before you start the challenge, and then again at the end of the challenge. And we have a website dedicated to it. It is alcoholfreefor40.com. I'll have that in the show notes of this episode. But some of the lab markers we do are those that measure inflammation throughout our bodies, our liver enzymes, our liver health, certain labs that we include in there, and I'll go through those in a little bit, but that really tell us a picture of what's happening inside of our bodies as a result of drinking, and then what happens and how these are different after this period of time, 40 days or so without drinking. So getting labs done is one component of it. Another thing that we do is we get a real up-close photo of your face. And it's a tight shot of your face showing your skin, your eyes, the texture of your skin, under your eyes, the whites of your eyes. And being able to see that improvement in your skin overall, your face overall, and that puffiness, but also the change in skin texture, or not the darkness under your eyes, reduced circles under there, clarity in the eyes. That's a big change that we'll see visually that, again, you can do anywhere, wherever you are. Another is blood pressure, because that is really strongly impacted in a lot of people with alcohol. And then the fourth is body composition. So if you have a scale that measures body fat, and it allows you to see body fat, typically muscle mass, but also hydration status. So when we're looking at things like not just body composition of body fat and looking, yes, at that body fat change or weight change over these 40 days, but also being able to see that change in hydration status and also muscle mass. So those are some of the things that when you go to the website, alcoholfreefor40.com, again, we have these all listed out there of what to do. But the idea is to do all these things at the beginning and to do them at the end. So started it, I mentioned 5 years ago. It was 2015. And well, actually, it was end of 2015. And I was talking with my then editors at NOLA.com, Times Picayune, and said, hey, thinking about this, what do y'all think about if and this is New Orleans, y'all. This is New Orleans where, drinking is just such, so incorporated into the culture. It's just such a part of, for a lot of people, daily culture. It's not special occasions. It's not just weekends. It's just part of daily. And said, what if then, we propose this, that we're doing this self-experiment. We call it Alcohol Free for 40. And at first I thought they were going to be, look at me like had lost my mind. And they didn't. They were like, no, I think that's really cool. And they were behind it. They were like, let's do it. So year one, which was 2016, we did it, and it was more of an online challenge and a personal challenge. And what was the coolest thing is we had an email group that they could email and interact, daily emails, daily kind of you've got this type tips, recipe tips, strategies, walking them through what to expect. But one of the things that I saw, and there was like a huge outpouring, and like I said, immediately, even starting in our first year, people coast to coast throughout the world, all these different countries, people were chiming in and letting me know, hey, I heard about this through a friend, or I read about it online, and I heard about it on like a radio interview. Wherever they were hearing it, and they were intrigued and wanted to do this and know that they had this camaraderie and other people were in it with them. But one thing that I saw that people weren't doing is getting those labs done. And they might be getting that picture of their face. They might be checking their weight, blood pressure, because you can kind of do that anywhere with a blood pressure cuff or something. But they weren't actually getting those pre and post labs done. So in year two, and then moving on till now, I worked with Oshner Health, which is, of course, where we're based out of. That's where my office is as a dietitian. I'm at Oshner Fitness Center, and that's where our Eat Fit initiative has been born out of. And so reached out to Oshner, and between our corporate wellness and executive health kind of community touch point group that does a lot of screenings out in the community, doing lab screenings, and then also our blood bank, they came together and said, yeah, we can provide this for the community to come in for a really nominal amount and have these metrics done. And it's grown and grown so that we do now have a kickoff party where we have alcohol-free drinks for people to try, taste, sample, things like Big Easy kombucha, an apple cider vinegar that we use that's really spicy. It's by Andy Lynn's. It's fantastic to make Bloody Marys, sparkling waters that we can make easy, mocktails or any kind of alcohol-free drinks. And then also sweets, because that's a big thing. A lot of people crave sweets when they give up alcohol for Lent. So having some Eat Fit, low sugar drinks and sweets that are kind of showing people here's how to do it and here's how easy it is. What's cool about it though is people came on, to our kickoff event to get their labs done, all those metrics I mentioned, their labs, the photo of their face, their blood pressure, their body comp. But it also became this really cool way for them to connect and talk with the other people who are going to be going through this with them. So immediately in person, it became a very high interaction, high level of support for each other, and kind of we're all in this together. And then that also evolved into online. So we have, if you're posting about the Alcohol Free for 40 challenge, we just do hashtag Alcohol Free for 40. But we do have an Alcohol Free for 40 Facebook group. And it's one of those that you just ask to get in, and anyone who there's a couple of questions that it asks you, but that group is really where that online social support is. There's a lot of accountability. Hey, I have this event tomorrow night. I'm kind of nervous about it. And then everyone will kind of chime in, or different products they might find, or just different things that kind of sharing their successes, their struggles, their experiences, products that they find. And that social network has been just a really cool thing to get everyone on board. So So that's kind of where Alcohol Free for 40 started, and it's gradually grown and evolved. And our kickoff event in New Orleans, we cap it at 200 people that can come in. Otherwise, our blood bank and our labs can't handle just that volume. But the kickoff event is the Thursday after Mardi Gras, 4 to 8. And anyone can come to the event and try the mocktails, try the different things, talk to other people who are doing it. But in order to get those labs done and those other metrics, we do cap it at 200. And then those other regions I was talking about, again, they're all in Louisiana, but North Shore, Covington, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Shreveport, those are capped at 100 just in this first year as everyone's kind of figuring out that system of it. So the cool thing is we can do it from anywhere. You don't have to have all these things done. You can truly just, and on the website, we have click to commit. You can truly just click to commit, make your own personal commitment, and that's all you're doing. And you're kind of doing your own tracking, your own metrics through, whether you decide to take that picture of your face or whatever it might be. Or you can go the full way and come in for these pre and post challenge labs. So it's been a cool thing to have it evolve. So going into the why, like why was this something that I felt we really needed to do? The idea is that this wellness spring cleaning, whether it's Lent, whether it's any time of the year, this is, or for a lot of people, it's almost like a belated New Year's resolution. I look at this as kind of an expansion of a lot of our own personal journey for self-awareness and wellness. And what I found is there's a lot of people who join the challenge who kind of have a little bit of a question mark about maybe their relationship with alcohol. And for some people, the challenge is simply their way to prove to themselves that, yeah, I can do it. I can give up alcohol for 40 days. For a lot of people, they do it each year and it's their annual reset. It's okay, it's kind of been creeping in that since holidays, we've been, drinking more often or every day. And then the Alcohol Free for 40 at the end of it, when they do go back to drinking, they're kind of just reining it in to just the weekends. There are other people, though, who, as I mentioned a minute ago, kind of have that question mark about their relationship with alcohol, but they're not ready to really even maybe admit to themselves that this is something that they feel is out of their control. And it's been a really beautiful thing to see that, because this is a wellness challenge. It's a fun, health-based challenge. It's not, something that they're having to say, I truly have a problem or can, they're not ready to do this. And maybe they don't need to, but maybe they feel that they're going to they're leaning more toward that, and that they need to they're fearful of it and they need to check to get things better in check. And there's been a lot of people who at the end of this challenge have decided, this is how I want to continue living my life. I feel a lot better. I feel more productive. I feel a better version of myself. And for all these reasons, they have made the decision to continue to not drink, even at the end of the challenge. So this challenge isn't about saying alcohol is bad. That's not at all what it's about. But every person who comes through it has a different relationship with alcohol. They have different levels of challenges and struggles through the Alcohol Free for 40 challenge. And at the end of it, there's been a lot of different outcomes and a lot of different ways that people have decided to live their life. I will say, for someone who obviously feels like they have more than just a little bit of a problem with it, and it is a serious problem. This challenge is not. This is not to take the place of traditional treatment. This is not to take the place of, meeting with your medical experts, your physician, with addiction specialist, or any of this. Is not to take the place of that. So I want to be very clear on that we don't take that lightly, and we're not flippant to say this is going to be what someone needs in every situation. We are highly aware that for a lot of people, that term addiction is truly in place. It is entrenched, and something like this 40-day challenge is not going to be the solution. And so again, we're aware of that. So everything that I'll be saying moving forward is aware of that, and realizing that this is not a solution for many. And we do have supervising physicians in each of our regions. in New Orleans, it actually is Dean Hickman. He is one of our addiction specialists at Oxner Health. And so we do have the resources that when someone does feel this, we can work with them, and our registered dietitians can also help to guide them into what's going to be best for them. So just want to be clear on that as you're listening, that this is not, we're not saying this is a solution for all, but for many, this has been a really cool, it's been a cool challenge. And in a lot of cases, it's been really life-changing. So when they do give up alcohol during this time and they're able to see the full impact that alcohol has on our mind, our body, our spirit, it's very beneficial. And again, it's life-changing. So when we look at what you can expect, this is what I think seeing these changes is what keeps people on board. So a lot of people, when they start the 40 days, they're like, man, I don't know if I can do 40 days. I don't know if I can do, some people joke, I don't know if I could do 40 hours without alcohol. I've had, people confide that they may be in their 60s. I had a woman, she was in her late 60s, and she had not gone more than 2 days without drinking since she was 16 years old. And so for her, committing to this 40-day challenge was really significant. There's others who I'd mentioned him on an earlier podcast that I did with Big Easy Bucha, Austin Sherman, the owner of Big Easy Bucha Kombucha. But he was our then 83-year-old Scotch drinker, and he drank a lot of Scotch, and he had never done a challenge like this. And he wasn't, he came in open-minded to it. Kombucha ended up being his drink of choice that took the place of his Scotch. He tried all different brands, all different flavors, varieties, and just really had a great time with it. His wife would email me throughout, and she joined the Alcohol Free for 40 Facebook because he wasn't on social media. And so she would keep him updated with things through there. But, she was so proud of him, and he was proud of himself because he was able to do it. He had never done anything like this before. And it was just a big game changer for him and clarity. And so again, 83, he had never done anything like this before, but he was game to give it a go. So I think, what really helps people stay on track with it is knowing what the benefits are to expect. And so when you look at what this extended 40-day detox, when you look at the benefits on our mind, our bodies, our spirits, within days, and sometimes we're talking just 2 days, 3 days, within just days, you'll notice that you have more energy. Almost everybody has better sleep and clearer eyes, less under eye circles, and that improved mental clarity. Now, I want to say something about sleep, actually. So with literally just days, people, of course, they'll realize if they don't drink the night before, they're waking up with just feeling so much clearer headed. They're not having to pry themselves out of bed. They're waking up feeling a lot fresher than what they were used to. But here's the deal on sleep. A lot of people feel like if they have a drink or two or a couple, a few drinks, it helps them sleep better. And that's the perception. So when someone gives up alcohol, in that first week, 2 weeks, or even a little bit more, they may feel like, wow, I'm having a real hard time sleeping. But here's the reality of alcohol with sleep. Alcohol makes it easier for us to fall asleep, but it makes it harder for us to stay asleep. And alcohol, when it's in our systems, it actually interferes with our sleep quality. So our sleep duration, the depth of our sleep, how deep we're sleeping, our REM, all of this is disrupted with alcohol. So our sleep quality is lowered when we drink, and also our ability to stay asleep is lowered. So a lot of times someone finds if they're drinking, they fall right asleep. They're the second their head hits the pillow, if not before, they're out. But 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they wake up and they are wide awake. And when you're not drinking, you might find you're not falling asleep in that split second, but you do have more sound sleep, better quality of sleep, and you're not waking up at that 2, 3 o'clock in the morning so much. Now, there are always a few exceptions every year, but I would say largely 90+% of people, this is a big improvement. So their sleep quality, which means that they're waking up feeling more energetic, Their eyes are clear, less under eye circles, less puffiness. So that's literally within days, you can start to experience this. Within as soon as 1 week, you'll notice less fluid retention. And you'll notice that not only in, things like your eyes, that puffiness around your eyes, just your face, looking at your face instead of kind of having that a little bit of a maybe swollen or fluid retention that you're seeing in your face, that starts to go down. But it's not just our face, it's our whole bodies. So a lot of times you can feel that in your clothes. Your clothes are starting to feel a little bit looser. Skin texture, conditions like rosacea often improve, and skin is brighter. It's better texture, and you when you look in the mirror, you feel like you look healthier, and you do. And that's why we like to do that photo before and after. This is where you'll start to notice also that better mental clarity and better focus. Now, I will say within these first few days and this first week, this is also the hardest time for that habit shifting and habit shaping. And there's a period of time, or I guess a time of day that I'll refer to as the witching hours. And for a lot of people, their witching hours is their window of transition time. And that might be the transition time from work to home, or transition time from work to social or home to social. And what I mean by that is you come in from your day and you walk in the door, and the first thing a lot of people do is pour a drink. They might be pouring a scotch, a bourbon, a glass of wine, whatever it is. You're pouring that drink, then you're going through your mail, whatever. Your spouse, your partner comes home, or if you live by yourself, you have another drink with them or another one by yourself. You sit on the porch, you talk, or that same thing when you go out to meet friends for dinner. A lot of times we meet at someone's house, have a drink or two, then go to dinner, have more drinks. So that transition time into social or into our relaxing time, kind of shifting from our work mode in our brain, or our productive mode from what we're doing in our day, our errands, whatever we're doing, into that social time or that relaxing time at night. We use alcohol as that crutch, to help, as we perceive it, to help with that transition. So that's what I call the witching hours. So one of the biggest things I would say to be aware of during this time, during this 40-day challenge, is what your window of time is that is your witching hours. And it's not enough just to know that's what it is and to say, okay, I'm not going to drink during that time. That's not enough for most people. We have to instead say, what am I going to do instead? What is the replacement behavior going to be? So number one is identifying what's my witching hour window. Number two is, what is my replacement behavior going to be that I'm going to do instead? And that's key. Those two things are going to be gigantic for success and to make it easier for you. So for a lot of people, it's doing something with their hands. It's doing something so they're not even tempted to have that drink, or it's doing something to where they couldn't drink during that. So one thing is, instead of meeting home and you sit on the porch or sit on the sofa with your partner and you have, a couple of glasses of wine, talk about the day, instead of that, come home, change clothes, go for a walk and talk through the day there. The endorphins that we get from that moving, it doesn't have to be fast exercise. It doesn't have to be, like your calorie burning walk. This is your stress reducing walk. This is your transition time walk. And just doing that can help to fill that void. A lot of people may say, okay, that's when I'm going to walk my dog, or I'll meet a friend for a walk and talk. I'll meet my spouse or partner for a walk and talk instead of us having the drinks. Some have started doing things, taking up a hobby that takes their hands. So they may do sketching, or they may paint, or they may do pottery, or something that is going to actively engage you. A lot of people have found that taking the time, and they find that they're using it to organize their things a little bit better, and things that maybe they didn't get to, or just kind of always piling up around the house and they didn't take the time to get to it. They're actually doing that, or some of those little projects that they kept putting off, that 2-hour window of time in the evenings, they just got it back. Also, for a lot of people, if they have a few drinks and they're going to dinner, they're kind of, when they get home, they're not going to do any of those productive things after they've had, several pre-dinner and then at dinner drinks. The amount of time that people can feel like they now have back that's productive time can be giant. So any of those kind of little projects that you thought either are at the house or other things that you want to engage in, what's going to fill that void? The other thing is, so that's kind of what are you going to do during that time? The other thing is, what are you going to drink during that time? And what is it going to be out of? So for some people, it's as simple as drinking, a sparkling water. And there's so many different brands. There's LaCroix, there's Waterloo, Coca-Cola is coming out with AHA. I haven't tried it yet, but it is coming, I believe, right at the time of Alcohol Free for 40, which is end of February. And so there's so many different things that you can do there, but some just opening a can of that is enough. Many people, though, like to make it feel a little bit more special. So they may put it into a wine glass, a champagne glass. They may put some raspberries in it. They may make a mocktail. We have in our Eat Fit cookbook, we have all of our drink section. They are alcohol-free drinks by default. And then we have in there how to make it a cocktail. So all of our recipes for drinks are naturally alcohol-free. So kind of experiment with some of these. We like to use Swerve to make a simple syrup, which is an easy way to make different kind of versions of mocktails using your favorite cocktail ideas and just removing the alcohol. But there's so many different recipes. And again, on our website, alcoholfreefor40.com, we'll be building out more and more of these. On that social media support, the Facebook group for Alcohol Free for 40, there's always different ones. And then what's really cool in all the regions that I mentioned, we have Eat Fit. We also work with our restaurants and bars for many of them to offer Eat Fit approved alcohol-free drinks, or some say mocktail, some hate the word mocktail. So sorry if you hate it. That's sometimes what we say because it's easy. But alcohol-free Eat Fit approved mocktails at a lot of restaurants and bars throughout Louisiana, so that we're encouraging people that, you can still go out, live your life, and not just to have plain old water. There's going to be a lot of options for you. So that's sort of what I look at of within the first few days, within the week, what to expect as far as the benefits, but then also what to expect as far as the challenges and how to gear yourself up, kind of shift your mindset so that you're prepared for that. Within a month, you're going to see and feel the changes. If alcohol was something that you're doing on a daily basis, and especially multiples a day, almost always you're going to see a shift in weight. The time that we don't is when someone replaces alcohol calories with sugar calories. So be very aware. I would do everything possible not to start to hedge more towards that sweet tooth as a replacement for alcohol. Ice cream is a big thing. So of course we like Halo Top instead of regular ice cream. It's a fraction of the carbs, sugars, calories. There's so many different desserts you can do. In our cookbook, we have these peanut butter cups. They are made with Swerve. And Swerve has a ton of recipes on their website also that use, they're delicious. They feel decadent and they can kind of satisfy that sweet tooth. But I just urge you not to swing the pendulum to the sugar side as you're giving up alcohol, because then we're really just replacing one vice with another vice. And then beyond the 40 days, the benefits of this aren't limited to just the challenge of 40 days. It can be that reset that stays with you as part of a broader lifestyle change. It can make you kind of rethink your approach with alcohol entirely. A lot of people also comment that their relationships are improved. They're focusing more on the people that matter to them. They're focusing, they're more dialed into the conversations, their relationships around them, whether it's with their kids, their friends, their partners, their spouses. So there's a lot of other benefits, even beyond just the mental clarity and kind of those immediate physical benefits. And then inflammatory markers. That's why we do those labs. So inflammatory markers, liver enzymes, all these markers of what's happening inside of our body, for a lot of people, improve from high down to normal limits, or even if they were within normal limits, but at the upper end, they're even lower at the end of the challenge. So lots of real benefit to it. Because I think a lot of people, many of us are aware, but I don't know that we're truly aware to the full extent that even just casual drinking causes inflammation. And of course, we wake up, we see that our eyes are puffy, but that's just the inflammation that we see and what we can feel, like in our hands or our rings after we drink. But that inflammation is also happening on a cellular level in our bodies. It's the type of inflammation that increases our risk for things like heart disease, liver disease, certain types of cancer, arthritis. So these are really significant negative effects of alcohol that a lot of us don't realize we're perpetuating with that alcohol. I mentioned it interferes with our sleep patterns. And so throughout this 40 days, a lot of times our relationship with sleep is a lot better. And not just for that foggy thinking to help lift that and help our energy, but sleep is intricately tied to our weight. So it's not just the calories from alcohol that are an issue when it comes to weight, but ongoing disrupted sleep also contributes to weight gain. And another thing to think about too, a lot of times we think about alcohol as something that relaxes us, but this is what I think is really shocking to a lot of people who do the challenge is we don't realize that, okay, we have that alcohol, we think of it as it's relaxing us, it's helping us to unwind. But if it's taken even a little bit further than just that moderate drinking, it can have the exact opposite effect. And actually, alcohol can increase our feelings of stress. And here's how. So basically, over time, as we're drinking, alcohol lowers our threshold of dealing with stress. It lowers our threshold of our ability to like handle stressful situations. So something that in reality might be, a stressor of a 3 or a 4, if we're drinking and we have that high level of alcohol intake, we often perceive it as an 8, 9, or 10. So basically, our reactions to stress are a lot more heightened to things that maybe aren't even that stressful. And so over time, over this alcohol free for 40 challenge, one of the big points of feedback we have from people is, wow, I'm handling stressful situations a lot better. My anxiety is so much more improved. And all around, just kind of that whole body, that mental wellness, that spiritual wellness. So again, we think of alcohol as a stress reliever, but it can actually be a stress enhancer. And finally, even if someone isn't drinking so much that you feel like you're at an increased risk for any of these things, even if it's just a drink or two a day, we still can easily be feeling like less than optimal, but we're so used to how we feel. We have 1 or 2 drinks at night. We feel like we're fine. We feel like we're in total control of our emotions, everything else. But when we give up alcohol for this period of time, it's like, wow, I didn't realize that it was kind of causing this like general malaise, this general overall sluggishness. So I think all of these things are things that if you choose to do alcohol free for 40, whether it's with us in Lent, the end of February this year, or it's any time throughout the year, at any point that you decide to do it in any way, and it doesn't have to be 40 days, it could be 30, it could be more. But I think paying attention to all of these things, your sleep, your anxiety, your mood, how your skin's looking, the eyes, how your mental clarity is. As we tune into all these things and we really are paying attention to these full body effects, it makes it easier for us to stay on track with it. So again, that person who says, man, 40 days, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do 4 days or even 40 hours. But when we start to pay attention to these side benefits and these whole body benefits, it really does make it easier to fulfill that and to stick with it and to reach that goal. There's also one of the things that we link to on our website, on the alcoholfreefor40.com website. We do have different like steps to make it easier, which I'll talk about in a minute. We do have mocktail recipes, but we have a lot of recommended articles. And these are just some really cool, easy to read things that are kind of inspiring and like, wow, things that are educational. And one of the articles that we link to, it's in the Washington Post, is actually about how when we give up alcohol for a period of time, it actually becomes easier. And it becomes easier because our brains make it easier for us. And what happens is basically alcohol causes long-term changes in our nervous system, and these can go away, but it happens slowly, it happens gradually. And a lot of times we do just need to give our brains time to adjust. So, alcohol activates reward pathways in our brains, similar to other types of, food for a lot of people or addictive drugs. And these reward pathways, some people respond to them a lot more strongly than others. And that probably also is a large reason of how and why different people respond to alcohol in different ways. But basically, when we look at so that reward pathway is high, and when we look at how when we disrupt this area in our emotional processing center in our brains, and we disrupt this area with alcohol, it can leave us kind of feeling like we're in a funk. And what's our response to that? We feel like we're in a funk after we drink, and so it's easy to say the next day, oh, like, here's 5 o'clock, have a drink. And that helps to kind of feel like we're lifting ourselves out of the funk. But what we're basically doing is starting ourselves on that self perpetuating spiral. So when people are giving up alcohol again for this 40-day challenge, everyone has different experiences and genes, environment, how much we were drinking before, all of these things are going to affect how quickly your brain can rewire and respond and change. But after you go a period of time without drinking, those associations between alcohol and those pleasure centers, those reward centers, they do start to fade, and your brain truly can start to hardwire itself to go back to normal. And so, to where we don't associate, um, we don't have so many of these triggers. So, of course, not everybody has the same experience if they're going through the 40-day challenge with us, whether it's, their genes, their environment, how much they were drinking before. All of these are going to affect how easy they perceive it to be or how hard it is they perceive it, and also how quickly their brain is going to respond to these changes. But ultimately, once we're going a period of time without drinking, those associations start to fade that are linking alcohol to these pleasure centers, these reward centers in our brain. And our brains really can start to hardwire themselves. They are hardwired and to go back to normal, but it just takes some time for that to happen. Okay, so when we look at if you're thinking about doing the challenge and you're like, okay, I think I'm in, but I have some questions or I want to see just what's gonna here's some things that'll make it easier for you. So number one, if you've got someone who can go into this with you, get a friend to do it with you. And especially if it's a person that you're super close with, you spend a lot of time with, your spouse, partner, best friend, a person at work who you're with a lot. But having that person with you can be really great as the buddy system. One thing I would make sure though is that they are truly in it with you, because you don't want that person that's going to help you make excuses. Oh, well, that's okay if it's just on the weekends, or a little is okay. You want this person to be all in with you. Let people know what you're doing. So on the Alcohol Free for 40 website, we have the click to commit. And then we want you to join that Facebook group. And being public with it, being social with it is going to help boost that accountability. But it also helps make it easier when you are at an event that has alcohol, because you can be like, "Yep, I'm doing the Alcohol Free for 40 challenge. I've got, 20 days left," or whatever it is. But letting people know is going to be key also. And then throughout the challenge, paying really close attention to the benefits of not drinking, because that, again, like we said a minute ago, is going to really help you stay on track. Tuning into your energy. A big thing I like is keeping a journal to track it, how you're feeling when you wake up, or whether it's afternoon cravings, whatever is kind of your real weakness through the day, whether it's getting out of bed in the morning or you have a raging sweet tooth in the afternoon, whatever it is, keeping a little journal or just kind of tracking how those things are hopefully improving during this challenge will, again, help you make it easier on yourself. Checking in on your labs. Most labs take at least a few weeks to see some difference. Some take months, but we have seen significant results even in as little as 1 week. So if you are like, man, one weekend, I'm struggling, I really feel this big challenge, that's something that you could talk with your doctor and say, and they're going to say you're not going to see a change, but, and many times you won't, but a lot, whether it's liver enzymes, inflammatory markers, these can be improved in as little as 1 week, which might be what you need to have that little bit of extra incentive. And then finally, if you do slip up, it's not all over. Just get right back on track. And, a lot of people have, that one time or two times, but if they were looking at, wow, once or twice during the 40 days compared to 40 days during the 40 days, that's, it's still significantly better. So don't beat yourself up on this. And then finally, it isn't all or nothing, and it's not something that you're going to maybe continue to do over the long term. And like we said earlier, it's not about saying that alcohol is bad or people shouldn't drink, but it is about using this 40-day challenge to explore your relationship with alcohol, why you drink, what it's bringing to you, what you're getting from it, and using it as a reset, using it as your own self experiment. And at the end of it all, you might see that it is worth dialing it back just a notch over the long term. So that's kind of a summary of our Alcohol Free for 40 challenge. Mentioned the website, alcoholfreefor40.com. We are doing it in 2020, right after Mardi Gras, which is Mardi Gras Tuesday is February 25th. So the challenge starts Ash Wednesday, which is Wednesday, February 26th. But our kickoff event is not until Thursday, February 27th. And that's because, especially in New Orleans, people are still finding themselves on Ash Wednesday after Mardi Gras. And so we like to kind of give it an extra day in there so people can kind of get themselves together, see what's on their schedules for that week, and then come in for that. So if you are in Louisiana, the areas that will actually have kickoff events are New Orleans, Covington, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Shreveport. If you're not in those areas, well, let's say if you are in those areas, on the website, you'll see click to sign up. And each of those regions has its own Eventbrite page. And you'll want to click on that Eventbrite link, fill out the information it asks, and it asks for different things. It helps to generate all the slips and stuff needed for the lab. And it's $25. And that $25 covers your pre and post challenge labs, plus all the other stuff. And so $25 is for both before and after, all lumped in. Just kind of a nominal amount compared to if you're paying for it out of pocket. It's significantly more. And how much it is varies on what lab it is. But if you're doing those labs separately out of pocket, ask for the price on it first. And if it is out of your budget, the ones I would at least recommend doing, if possible, are liver enzymes, ALT, and AST, and also inflammatory marker called HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. If you're going to kind of whittle it down and only do certain markers, those are the ones I would really recommend doing pre and post if money is an issue and we really need to budget it. The full shebang that we have listed on there is easily over $100 to have all that lab work done. So again, if you're going to whittle it down to what's the ones I'd really want to see, that's those. So again, wherever you are, you can ask your physician or go into a lab that can just do, any kind of a lab can do these and have those done pre and have them done post. Get a friend or take your own photo. And then blood pressure, you can do that in any of these blood pressure cuffs, screenings, drugstores have them. And if you have a scale that can do weight and body composition, that's fantastic. If not, you can still just go by how your clothes fit. So if you're in the area that I mentioned, any of those regions, consider signing up for that challenge in person, because then we'll be helping really do those metrics for you before and after. If you're not in the area, still, we would love you to join with us. Click on the button that just says click to commit and join our Alcohol Free for 40 Facebook page. And like I said, it's been a really cool, rewarding beyond belief for me. The emails that we've gotten, the feedback, the benefit that it's had on people's lives has just been like a game changer. So I am planning to have at least one more podcast with an expert who can kind of dive into the why all this happens in our brains, because we just touched on basically the challenge and what we do, but there's so much really interesting stuff about why we drink, why we crave, the long-term effects of alcohol, some that we think are healthy and some that aren't, and some that we don't even know about. So that's going to be part 2 of this podcast. But if you have any questions, you can always email me. And again, we've got the link that's going to have a lot of the details that we talked about. So finally, to wrap everything up, wherever you are in the United States, wherever you are in the world, if you're hearing this and you're interested in it, we would love for you to join us. We're going to be starting it here in this area the end of February. So starting Ash Wednesday, February 26th with our labs and kickoff events, Thursday, February 27th, and that's going to go on through until Easter. But if you're hearing this at any time of the year, you don't have to wait till next Lent to do it. You don't have to wait till next spring. It can be your own challenge any time of the year. Just use this as your own guideline. Feel free to email me with any questions. And again, we'll have the link to our website, alcoholfreefor40.com, with full details there. I'm registered dietitian Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. And if you would like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, please head over to mollykimball.com. You can email me there as well. And you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And join us next week for another dose of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life.